You're welcome. Likewise.
Like the people,
Okay, no, that's good.
so, and I shouldn't be giving it to anybody else. I gave all the board members, and that's all that needs.
Yeah, whoever needs one in the office, that's
Well, I have the PDF, and you saw the item. All I'm going to do is bring it up. I don't know how we're going to summarize this. You might have to go through the book real quick. I don't know. You just tell
I'm
me
just
how
going to
you
say that we got good news from this year. We negotiated 150,000 in savings.
And here's where the changes are. The policy remains the same as is, and focus on that one page. So I'll get into that page.
Just get into that page, put it on, and I'll just yeah, I'll introduce myself and just talk about the good news, and I'll speak this from that page. When I say, I just say Gallagher is the insurance broker for the school district. We're also a managing partner. We do more than just insurance. We work with them on a daily basis.
And you've been with us for a long time.
I might not say that.
Oh, okay. Okay, whatever. You know how you've done this in the past.
Yeah.
I'll say,
we get to know you. We have known you guys.
Yeah.
We work closely with you. And of course, when I stand up here and I'm actually on live, I'll probably forget how to think what to say. But
oh, that's all right.
that happens. But
yeah,
no,
I do that too,
I will focus on just I think we're focusing on this chart on page 8 or whatever.
Okay.
And I'll say.
And I'll bring it up on the screen.
If there's any questions, feel free to stop me. And just no.
Yeah, that's good. And if they probably won't have that much questions because they don't really. They should have had enough to ask questions.
But this is a great renewal, and it's just like there's three major items that are different. Two of them are on this, and one not. And I thought the page after is a property program. You want to go to that? Are you going to
yeah, I'll click it for you.
Or I can click it. I don't want to.
Yeah, that's the clicker there.
What is it?
It's
that button?
That one, yeah.
The one that's all worn out?
Yeah. That's the one that you go once it's your turn.
I aim it and fire?
I think he said, I need to ask him if he said he was going to start it for us, or if we have to start it, just go from beginning, and then bring it to the chart.
Through like with this thing. Okay.
If you want to do that.
I can do that.
Okay. Oh, I can ask him to start it. Do you want him to start it?
Have him start at least.
Okay. Let me tell him that.
Where is it?
It's right here. It's on the bottom. This is one.
I put on the screen now. I would bring it up here.
Yes. Oh, Greg, thank you. How are you doing tonight?
Doing okay. Okay. When it's your turn, it's at the end, so. All right.
All right.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Before we call the board meeting to order, I've asked Ms. Studdard if she would lead us in the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance.
Our Father, we come here tonight to deliberate on items that affect our children, that affect our school district. We ask that you be with us as we make decisions that are in the best interest of the school district. Father, this has been a tough week. We keep remembering what happened in Orlando. We ask that you be with the victims' families and friends. We ask you to help us to know that we must love each other and we must stop the hatred in this world. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Studdard. I'd like to call to order the regular school board meeting of June 16th, 2016. I'd like to also take this time to welcome all of you and thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to attend tonight's meeting. This meeting is our opportunity as your elected representatives to collaborate openly and make decisions that will decide the future direction of our public schools and the education of our children here in Clay County. If you wish to address the board, there will be an opportunity to speak for 3 minutes. Please fill out a card, which you will find located in the back of the room. It is a yellow card. And indicate the specific item number that is on the agenda or the topic that you wish to speak about and turn it in promptly. You can bring it up here and deliver it to Ms. Cornegay on the corner here, and she'll bring it up. No additional cards will be accepted once the board moves to the discussion agenda. As always, your participation is welcome and appreciated. Okay? So the first item up is the adoption of the consent agenda, but I will note item C3 has been pulled to discussion. So I will entertain a motion.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion for approval of the consent agenda minus item C3. And a second by Ms. Gilhousen. Motion by Ms. Condon, second by Ms. Gilhousen. Any discussion?
I have 2 comments, if I
Sure.
may. I just wanted to say that on item C8, the student progression plan, I don't know if anyone is here tonight from Ridgeview High School, but last meeting we heard from Mr. Bison about how GPAs are calculated, so I just wanted to highlight that that's one change in the progression plan. So those of you with high school students or high school administrators, teachers, you'll want to, and I don't really know how that's going to work, if that applies, how that applies, but I wanted Mr. Bison to know that we had heard him, and my understanding is we had heard from a number of other students and families on how that affected them, so that applaud that change. And then secondly, I wanted to applaud Mr. Umbaugh, Mr. Wingate, and the whole Student Code of Conduct Committee. Outstanding job on those revisions. Parents and students, you'll want to make sure that you note the areas about technology and social media, because we're seeing really good kids that get in trouble for use of social media and how that applies. And so that they did a great job, I think, of fleshing out that and really explaining in detail. So good job, Mr. Umbaugh, Mr. Wingate, and that whole committee.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, you know what? I had one on C3. I'm so sorry.
We pulled C3.
Oh, yes, that's right. Okay, good. It'll come up on the discussion. Thank you. I just saw Rena's card there. Okay, we got that. All right, recognition and awards. We'll move to that. We're going to recognize the Wes Whidden Scholarship recipients. And so Angie Whidden, did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Come on up. Thank you. Angie Whidden is the principal at W.E. Cherry. Okay.
But tonight, I'm Wesley's mom.
Yeah.
Ms. Studdard mentioned that the tragedies down in Orlando, and it's you think about the parents who lost the lives of their children, because I can promise you it's not easy. Every day it's a struggle, every single day. But our son was a wonderful kid. He was a great kid, and recognizing each other's differences. One of my favorite stories of Wesley is I had a lady come up to me shortly after Wesley was killed and told me that her son was friends with Wesley. And I said, oh, that's wonderful. And she goes, no, you don't understand. Wesley was my son's first friend ever. He had never attended a public school. He had Down syndrome. And Wesley took him under his wing and would take him out there on the football field. And, he would be out there with the players. And she goes, I want you to know that we say a prayer for Wesley every night. And so I thanked her. And the motto that goes behind the scholarship is, your life is your message to the world. Make it count. To where no matter what you're doing, every single day, give it 100%. That's what Wesley did. And all of the recipients tonight have all been accepted to college. They have all completed an essay that says how they give back. Because honestly, in this life, it's not so much of what you get, it's what you give in return. That's what makes the world a better place. These students tonight have made the world a better place. Unfortunately, 3 of them are unable to be with us tonight. We were rained out with the initial scholarship presentation at the Jamboree, and some of them have already left for school. But we'd like to recognize the students that are here, and I certainly want to recognize Mr. Robert Worley. He is the athletic director at Orange Park Junior High. Without him, this would never be possible. He never even saw Wesley play. He didn't know him. Coach Worley told me that after coaching Heath, my 19-year-old son, that if Wesley had any of the characters like Heath, he deserved to be remembered. So without him, Orange Park Junior High, W.E. Cherry Elementary, and the Clay County community, this would never be possible. After tonight, we'll have awarded 48 kids college scholarships in Clay County and raised over $50,000 to help them go to college.
Wow.
We also have, at Thanksgiving time, we give needy families meals in memory of Wesley. And at Christmas time, we hand out 42 gifts in memory of him as well. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Coach Worley so he can recognize the recipients. Thank you so much for allowing us to be here. And I'm going to ask my family to come up.
Thank you very much. As Ms. Wooden mentioned, my name is Robert Worley. We started the foundation in 2009, and like she said, tonight's total brings us to 48 young men and women totaling $50,000, which we're very proud to say we've done. In 2009, our first recipient was Matt Garcia of Orange Park High School. We're proud to announce that Matt became an All-American on the football field and the first ever graduate of the Young Football Program at the Florida Institute of Technology. Excuse me. What started as just a small service project, literally my thought was we'd hold a car wash and raise a couple $100 and give it to one kid, has obviously grown leaps and bounds. As Ms. Wooden mentioned, our motto is, your life is your message to the world, make it count. We have each applicant write an essay entitled, How I Make a Difference in the World. So I want you to know we obviously put some thought into kids trying to make a difference. With that, we're going to introduce the 4 recipients that we have. First, Austin Cummings of Fleming Island High School. Austin, if you come on up. Austin has made a difference at the YMCA Camp Immokalee, assisting disabled children and serving as a lifeguard in Fleming Island. Austin will complete his current dual enrollment program at St. John's River State College before attending the University of Florida. Next up, Wyatt Harvin, Keystone Heights High School. Wyatt carries a 3.7 GPA and plans to attend Daytona State College next fall. Wyatt made a difference in the world on the night of January 2nd, 2015, when he placed the safety of his mother and his sister above that of his own. Next up, Jasmine Houston, Fleming Island High School. Jasmine carries a 3.78 grade point average while taking AP classes. She makes a difference in the world by working to change the social norms of her community through education and achievement. Jasmine plans to become a pediatrician in order to help children, as well as to inspire them to become anything in the world that they want to be. Jasmine will attend the University of Central Florida. And last but not least, Mr. Daniel Justino, Middleburg High School. Daniel carries a 3.6 grade point average and has made a difference with the Special Olympics of Clay County through their Spread the Word to the End of the Word campaign at Middleburg High School. Daniel will attend the University of Florida next fall. Please join me in congratulating these outstanding young men and women once again. This group has been chosen to represent the memory of Wesley Whidden as they pursue their dreams of a college education. To the recipients, we ask that you please remember the scholarship's motto as you embark on your next step in life. Your life is your message to the world. Make it count. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Next item up is recognizing students who are receiving Perfect Attendance Awards. Mr. Van Zandt.
You know, we're blessed to have a lot of great students in Clay County, and one of the things we like to instill, especially at the high school age, is a good work ethic. And I tell students all the time that they have to keep a couple things clear, and one of those is the priority of work and what they need to do with their education. And when you're in school, I mean, after what you're doing with your family, that really does have to be your top priority. So we have two young people tonight that are recent graduates of Oakleaf High School that have had perfect attendance, kindergarten through 12th grade. 13 years of their 18 years of life, they have not missed a day of school. So I'd like to call up Miss Erica Hines. and ask you to stay here just for a minute, and Miss Amber O'Hara. Now, you guys are superstars and probably drive yourself around and very fiercely independent these days, but you didn't get to school every day for 13 years from kindergarten going on without a very supportive family, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles. I don't know who all is here tonight, but if you are attached family, friends that had a part in the upbringing and graduation of these two young ladies, would you stand and be recognized? Older brothers and sisters have to do some carting around too. Outstanding.
Madam Chair, before we go further, could I take a moment, I guess a point of order here, or just indulge me for a second? Since we're doing recognitions and awards, I actually brought something with me, and I was going to save it for later today.
I was going to mention the same thing,
would you
but go
mind
ahead.
if I went ahead and mentioned, we have, Orange Park Rotary every year recognizes a citizen as Citizen of the Year, and it's somebody who just gives back to the community in more ways than any of us know. And this year's recipient is Mrs. Studdard, and she's in the Clay today. Apparently she's on the crime page. The most read page, I heard. But I won't read everything in here that she does. Mrs. Studdard has been giving back to the community for over 30 years, and she is the 46th recipient. It's on a plaque in the Orange Park Town Hall, and we could not be more proud of you for everything you do. I mean, she's been a mentor for 18 years for our children. She's helped build Quigley House, board of directors for the YMCA, Take Stock in Children. The list goes on. I mean, it's amazing. And raising 3 girls and running a business while doing everything you do. It's amazing. So I just want to thank you for letting me, send a shout out for Mrs. Studdard, our Citizen of the Year.
Thank you.
Thank you. I figured somebody was going to bring it up. If not, I was bringing it up at board member comments. But thank you. I thought that was a good place to bring it up.
I do want to say something.
Sure.
There were about 3 tables of friends and family there, and not one soul had slipped up and told me. I have never been more shocked and surprised in my life. I mean, I don't know how you did it.
Her face, it was the funniest. She didn't even realize her grandson walked up to her, and it was like, Grant, but she had no idea why he was there, and she's looking for her empty seat.
Why are you here? Yeah. Okay.
Priceless.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have presenters. We're going to have our first presentation on an AMI program update. Maria Przybulski, did I say that correctly? I hope.
Yes, as they come up and before Dr. Hatcher introduces them, say just a few comments about that. But back to Ms. Condon, your comment about the discipline and everything. I also want to thank the committee of teachers and administrators joining up, but also one of my partners in crime, Frances Sell. She puts in a lot of work on that, and I do appreciate you, Frances. Thank you for helping out. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Enough about Frances. Okay. Let's move on here. Tonight we wanted to bring to you just an update on some of our programs out there. All of you have heard of AMI and PACE. Dr. Hatcher is our contact person with the district, and he works with not only those 2 programs but several other programs. He's going to introduce the presenters. You know that we've worked with PACE for a couple years. AMI is new as of this year. So again, we just wanted to bring you an update. So with that, we're going to turn it over to Dr. Hatcher, okay?
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Good evening. First of all, I want to say to the board members, to the chair, to the superintendent, you voted in 2 outstanding alternative school programs for the children of this school district that I can honestly tell you has worked magic miracles for our young people. I get a chance to see these young people almost on a weekly basis, and they are truly thankful for the opportunity. So on behalf of those students that I get a chance to see and work with, I just want to say thank you very much for the opportunity. Also, now the first presenter that we're going to have from AMI Kids Clay is going to be Maria Przebilski, and then the second presenter we'll have will be Destiny Shadrick, who is the Executive Director for PACE Clay. Right? Thank you very much.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Maria. How are you? I want to thank you again for having us open a school right here in Clay County because it's so needed, and I appreciate everything you've done to open our school. We opened on October 19th with 7 boys. As you know, we came in March, and we decided to have us work with the boys from 11 to 17 years old. In the back of Clay County, we have 5 portables that we made our own little home. And so we have 31 right now, 31 boys right now. And our first graduation should come probably in August. And while they're there, what they do is they come to school every single day. We come to their house to pick them up. They come to school, and then they have boys group, boys council, they have mentoring, they're working on resumes. 8 of our boys have food handler certification so that they could be ready to work in the food industry. So we're working very, very hard with the families as well. We do home visits every single month. If they don't want to come to school, we make sure that we go to their home and make a home visit. We're very involved with truancy court as well as the diversion programs and DJJ. So we've made our connections there, and we hope to grow even further in the next year. That's great. Here's my regional director, Leticia Allen, who's going to talk a little bit about the educational portion of the program.
Greetings to each of you. I too would like to voice the same sentiments that we are extremely excited about the opportunity that you have given us to also be in Clay County. Our organization has been around for 47 years, and we've had an opportunity this year to come and have an impact on this community. So we are very excited and thankful for that opportunity. We have a nationally recognized evidence-based model called the personal growth model, which is the model that we use in our schools. And this model has 3 components, and that's education, behavior modification, and treatment. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about the education that the students are able to receive. In our schools, we have different models for our students. So of course we do direct instruction for our students. We also have a blended model, so we incorporate computer-based instruction as well. And we also include experiential education, giving our students an opportunity to learn and do activities where they don't know that they're learning, but at the end they have knowledge that they didn't have before. And so we've been very happy with that. In addition to that, we give our students an assessment every month, and that's so that our teachers can reevaluate their instruction. It's a really short, you all may have heard of the STAR assessment. So it's a very short assessment, and it looks at both reading and math. And so students are able to see how they are growing. They have charts, and so they get excited when they see that growth. And we also, as part of our behavior modification system, we give them rewards and incentives for moving up. So that a lot of times they may work to move up because they're receiving something, but we're modifying those behaviors and getting them interested in their education so that they can move forward. I'm going to, at this time, allow Maria to talk about the other 2 components of our personal growth model so that you can see how those 3 components work together to change the lives of our students.
The behavior modification section of our program, they work up in rank like the military. We use the Navy base, so they work up 5 ranks, and they have to meet certain criteria to meet that rank. They wear a uniform every day, tuck in your shirt, pick up your pants. We're trying to get them ready to be employable, so we want them to be neat and well tidied. So that's what we do with behavior modification. Every Friday we take them off campus if they're of a certain rank and a certain behavior stance. And then a couple of times a year we take them off campus for whitewater rafting or scuba diving trips that they can earn. Just recently we went to Jacksonville. We have an AMI program there, and we competed in a swim meet, and we took home 2 trophies, and 2 individual boys took home another 2 trophies. So it's a building of self-esteem. The treatment mode of our program, we don't have therapists on site, but what we do have is an opportunity to refer them out when we see a need for drug counseling or anger management. So we use behavior modification and treatment services in that realm. Clay Behavioral has been really helpful to us because that's where they go for counseling, or if they have private insurance, they would go there as well. So we keep a very close eye on our boys and their development, and we work very, very closely with the family. Parents come in every month for a care meeting, which is different than the regular school because we monitor their development each month.
Wow.
We serve 38 kids, and as I said before, we have 8 food handler certifications. We do a lot of community service because they don't need to do community service unless they go back to school. That always counts, but that's really character building, and we work hard with our boys at the animal shelter, the nursing homes in the area, and we're going to try to start on Head Start. The summer program, we do it twice a week. So if you have any questions, I'm ready for you to ask any questions.
I have a question. What exactly is the criteria for the students that you take into the program?
Well, Clay County School District is very helpful to us. If they have behavior problems, they get referred from the regular school. It's a voluntary program, so what we do is we have the parents come tour the program to see if it's a good fit. They're not on probation. We're preventing them from getting into the activities with DJJ and breaking the law. So we try really hard to work within the school district, different schools, Oakleaf, Middleburg, Green Cove Springs, Orange Park, even Keystone. We went out there, but that's pretty far out. But we would take kids there if there was enough kids. But
what age? What ages?
11 to 17 years old. And so the older kids, what we want to do is credit recovery if they're very far behind, and they work on that as well as their regular academics so that there's a double binding thing for them. So what their job is at our program is to catch up on any credits that they are missing and to get straightened up so that they could move on in life and not break the law up the road.
What is your capacity?
We have 44 slots right now.
So you're pretty close to full.
Yeah, we're close to full, and this is the summertime, so this is all through the year that they come to our school. We pick them up from their home, and then we drop them off at the end of the day.
Are the relocatables at Clay High, or where? Clay High. Right. Okay.
Clay High, we are in the back of Clay High. We have five portables back there, and so they come in the morning, and for the most part they have academics, and then at the end of the day we do our service portion of the program.
And how long do they stay in the program?
In the program, they have to make the rank up to the top rank. So within a school year, I'm hoping they will be ready to go back to regular school. But let me just say that we will discourage kids that are not ready. If they're not doing what they're supposed to, we keep them on. And the rank system really works well with these kids because it's something to work for.
What's the longest they can stay in the program? Is there no limit?
There's no limit. As long as their parents are agreeing to it. Now, 5 of our boys have left the program due to leaving the state, moving with family members, or we felt that the GED program at Orange Park High might be more suitable for one of our youth. So that's the only way that they move out. And when they come to the program, we're very clear on let's stick together and work with all the different issues that keep your son not being successful.
Good. Any other questions? No, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
It's really good.
Hi, everybody. Hello.
Congratulations again, Carol. And thank you to all of you that have already started to support PACE and come to our events or to come see our center. We really appreciate all the support. As you guys know, PACE started offering program here in Clay County the beginning of January of last year. We opened in our current permanent location in October of 2015. So we very quickly grew from the 20 kids we had in the permanent or the temporary locations to our full capacity of 50 girls within a couple of months. That's what the demand has been here. Dr. Hatcher said I can only have 3 or 4 slides, so I kept just to the facts, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Our program is very similar to what they're doing at AMI, but we have girls. We have a program called Spirited Girls that is truly life skills and opportunities for girls to work in what's called Girl Circle and share what's going on with them on a daily basis, do some journaling, and really explore everything from relationships with their parents and their peers to banking, personal hygiene, and it's really the nuts and bolts of all those things we need to know as women to just make it. We know a lot of our girls don't have role models that are teaching them those things in the home. We just did a banking presentation from Wells Fargo yesterday, and our girls didn't know the difference between a debit card and a credit card. That could get you into a lot of trouble. So we have very frank conversations with our girls, and we're lucky here in Clay County. Our girls do receive an elective credit for a Spirited Girls class, and that's rare among the 19 PACE centers around the state of Florida, so we love that support. Some girls are doing credit recovery. We do have a GED track, and a lot of our girls, it's really a truancy issue why they're with us to begin with. So our first goal is to try to get them to school and get them back on track. And while they are in classes all day, they also each have a counselor that they meet with regularly, because we all know with girls, if they're struggling in the classroom, it's usually because of something psychosocial that's going on, and so we can address that directly with them. We also receive a lot of support from Clay Behavioral and are working on having a therapist in our center through a partnership with them. We have counselors now, but this would be someone that could work with a little higher level needs of our girls. So we've had amazing support from the community and really have proven a need for a program that's gender responsive and really trauma informed in how we serve our girls. Okay, so the PowerPoint's not coming up. As I said, we have 50 girls. We were just awarded 5 more slots, which is, it's such an ugly term, but that's what DJJ calls them, on a temporary basis, because that's not us. Because it's a bunch of girls in the picture. Because there's such a demand, we've had a waiting list. And we will have those extra slots for 6 months, which is amazing because we're so new. We already have space for 5 more slots, and during the summer months when it's hardest to get kids to come to school and to stay in the program, we'll be recruiting that additional 5 girls, and we've got them ready to get there. The biggest problem that we face is transportation. Of course, you guys probably hear that a lot, but we are working daily with Clay Transit to try to make that happen and get our girls to the center in a timely fashion. We run into girls almost 2 hours on the bus in the morning, and luckily they're the ones that get dropped off first, but one way or the other, some girls are traveling that far because we do serve the entire county. Our girls love the feeling in the center. That's what we hear the most from them. And Dr. Hatcher was able to come to our transition ceremony a couple weeks ago to hear from a couple girls that recently received their GED. One of them literally came to us 9 months ago from the streets. Couldn't remember in Tallahassee, couldn't remember the last time she had been in school. She claimed she couldn't really read. She could call words, but she couldn't really read for content. In 9 months, she's passed her GED. And we are taking her on a regular basis. She didn't really like to come to school when she was there, but since she's finished, we can't get rid of her. So she's always there looking for things to do, and I've been taking her to St. John's River State College, where we have a really good relationship with them too. She's been on tours. The financial aid people are working with her, and we're going to at least get her enrolled in her first class and get her started. We hope that she'll be our first PACE girl to move over to St. John's. So we're super proud of them. And her speech was just, I mean, she bawled like a baby, and the best day of her life was the day she started at PACE, is what she told us. So I have some statistics on our slides that I won't know off the top of my head, but I can give you an idea. As I said, we have 50 girls right now. We have about a 65 to 70% completer rate, which means they've been there over 90 days. They met our standards and have moved back to their zone school or completed their GED. Our girls are with us 12 to 15 months, and if they have a continued need, usually on the social service end, we can file a length of stay with the Department of Juvenile Justice and keep them longer. We've never really had them tell us we couldn't, but we do have to go through the paperwork of filing that extension. We've had a number of girls transition successfully back to their school, and as I said, I think we've had 9 GED graduates this year, which is amazing. We have an opportunity to really give these girls some of the things they're missing at home. And the way that we select our girls is, I can't say select, but we're voluntary as well, so they have to want to be there. If mom drags them in and says, you're going here, we talk to her, and it's only if she wants to be there is the program going to work for her anyways. So it is voluntary. But we require that girls meet 3 risk factors. And these risk factors can be anywhere from previous trouble with the law to that they've moved more than 3 times in the last 5 years. They have a parent that's incarcerated to they've had an eating disorder. So it's a really wide gamut of things, and we find that most of our girls here in Clay County are suffering from depression, anxiety, things of that nature, more than what a lot of the other PACE centers see around the state. There's a lot more fighting. We don't have many fights. Our girls all like hugs, and it's pretty cool. But we're serving girls with a different kind of need than the other PACE centers that are in more urban areas. So it's really interesting to look at what the needs of our girls are compared to what some of the other centers are dealing with. We have an 88% rate of contact with girls that have transitioned out this month. And last month when I made the slides, we were at 88%. So most of our girls do have follow-through transition planning and program, and that goes up to 3 years. The ones that aren't included in those numbers, they just drop off of our radar or do recommit or end up back in the system somewhere where we can't communicate with them regularly, which is tragic. But we do everything we can to keep them in the family and keep up with what they're doing.
What's the average age of your girls?
Our average age is 15, but we serve from 12 to 18.
Okay, interesting.
And we do divide them a little bit so that the girls that are more middle school age are in groupings together and the high school girls are together, because the needs are so different, and the way they react to things and respond and understand the world around them is so completely different that we do keep them separated for the most part. They have separate lunches.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you all for your support.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Just very briefly, if you had not had an opportunity to go over and visit PACE School for Girls, You won't be the same. Ms. Shatrick didn't tell you about the yoga room, in case you want to go over there and have a little exercise. It's awesome. It's awesome. AMI Kids always open, and if you're close by, just stop by. They love visitors over there. So once again, thank you very much for the programs.
Thank you.
Just a reminder to the board, as you know, that 50 at PACE, 33 at AMI, there's 83 potential dropouts that we hope to keep them in school, and so that's really what it's about right there. So that's much like FLICA, that's why we have those programs and everything, okay? The next group up we want to recognize and also a short presentation is the American Heart Association. As Mr. Owens makes his way up, Mark, come on up. We have a great relationship with the American Heart Association. Majority of our schools are very familiar with that program, especially in the elementary world, and they do have a lot of programs going on in there. So we wanted to give Mr. Owens a chance to just share a few things about the program and also one school in particular. So this is the representative from the American Heart Association. Please welcome Mr. Mark Owens.
All right. Is it? Oh, perfect. Thank you. Hi, my name is Mark Owens. I'm the Youth Market Director responsible for working with schools in Clay County. And I came into my role in August of this past school year, so it's been a really true pleasure of mine to work with the county and to have your first and foremost your administrative support, to work with Mr. Wingate, and to work with the individual schools and coordinators. I'm going to a short presentation here. I promise to keep it brief. There's a lot more information on these slides than I'm going to talk about, but your eyes can scan it as we go. Can we go to the next one? So usually when we make introductions, people go with a heart association. What a great organization. And then I pose the question, what do we do? And sometimes people can't really give me a definitive answer. And so I wanted to give you a little bit of background about us. And so founded in 1924, you see what our mission is, to build healthier lives free of cardiovascular disease and stroke. Cardiovascular disease is the #1 reason that people die in our country. And that is the focus of how can we implement prevention into the schools, and that's what my focus is. And we've had tremendous success doing it this year. I can only do so much. The coordinators and the administrations at each of the schools are who really are to thank for all of their effort. So organization notes, you say, well, what does the Heart Association accomplish? What are some tangible things we can put our hands on? So one of the things is smoke-free restaurants. Now, kind of double dipping on top of heart health, I was an asthmatic when I was little, so I especially appreciated not having to move around in restaurants as that came into effect. Now our youth don't know anything different, you know, and that what a great thing. Smoke-free restaurants, AEDs in schools. In high schools, having AEDs required. And in Clay County, you guys are really awesome. You have AEDs in middle schools and elementary schools. And I'm responsible for 6 counties, elementary, middle, and high schools. And not every county is so fortunate. But you never know when a cardiac arrest can happen. And what an amazing tool to have in case that does happen. And so you look at some of the different research, and you look at $3.9 billion since 1924 has been spent on research and heart-saving research. And surgeries that we do nowadays that are commonplace 20 years ago were, you know, non-existent. And, you know, as someone who is connected to this personally through my family, I think it's truly amazing that these advances are funded by donor dollars that come from a variety of sources, and those donor dollars come from schools and families and students right here in Clay County, and a tremendous amount of support. So one of the things that I wanted to look at before personally I ever joined the American Heart Association was I wanted to kind of see where dollars went. I think that's always an important question to ask for any not-for-profit, especially when you're asking for support and donations. And you can see a breakdown of our pie chart here, and what I'd like to point out is 8.6% that goes towards management in general. So 91% and change is what goes towards what we do in terms of advocacy, in terms of research. So standing here, I'm very proud to be able to point to that pie chart in front of you. I hope it gives you a good, accurate view of what our values are. There are 3 different programs. Jump Rope for Heart is the elementary school program, and many of you have heard that. It's about 38 years strong. Some of the counties here have been doing it, some of the schools here in the county have been doing it for over 30 years. to where they've got banners hanging in their cafeteria, and it's really amazing to see. Hoops for Heart is the middle school program, and Red Out is the high school program, and we kind of sometimes do that. We sometimes kind of do a Hoops for Heart in high school, and that's always kind of hit or miss. It's tougher to get the high schoolers. And what we're really trying to accomplish are three things: heart disease prevention and implementing these heart-healthy messages, excitement for physical activity. You think about kids, and oh, my Jump Rope for Heart Day is coming up. So they raise donations to help people with sick hearts. In many cases, they know someone. Now, heart disease numbers are that 1 in 3 of us will be affected by heart disease, and that's really an unfortunate number. But you take a look around the room, and you start looking at risk factors in any school, and you'll see that it quickly connects all of us. And helping the community, instilling something in them to where they go beyond the walls of their school, beyond the boundaries, and they look at what their impact could be. And that's really amazing to see. And the coordinators at the schools do a tremendous job of empowering the kids to do so. This is an example from Jump Rope for Heart and our different heart-healthy messages. So tobacco-free, sugary drinks, sodium, and recognizing foods with sodium, fruits and vegetables. And this is an idea, and year to year, the vessel of how these messages are delivered may change, and they do change in order to keep their attention. A second grader who experienced the program this year needs to have something new and fresh put in front of them the next year. And so these messages always kind of change. This year it's dogs. Next year I know what it is, but I'm not at liberty to say it. And this is the most important slide to show. So coming in at the end of August in my role and not having a background and working with any not-for-profit and choosing to come in here to make the impact, these coordinators, most of them are coordinators who have done Jump Rope for Heart or Hoops for Heart for many years. And many of them kind of assimilated me into how they do things. And it was tremendous to be able to see what their impact is on each student. I wish all of them could be here, and every single one of them, I have unique stories about how they've created a really amazing impact with their students. It doesn't matter if the school raised a minimal amount or if they were the top raising school. The impact of this has been absolutely amazing. So 23 total schools is what you can see here, and this was more than any other, more participation from schools than any other time in history of us working together. This is a quick breakdown here. So we pride ourselves on trying to get this messaging not only to the students but to their families. So close to 19,500 were reached with these heart-healthy messages. And we keep tally of all the different balls and jump ropes and things that are distributed that we hope will be ongoing tools for them to use. And also for schools that raise certain amounts of donations, they receive U.S. Games certificates for PE equipment. And U.S. Games is one of the largest distributors of PE equipment in the nation. So $4,100 in U.S. Games certificates were distributed to schools this year. And then Shape America, you can see the memberships that are there. And it just helps with professional networking and sharing of ideas. I'm very proud to tell you that with your 23 schools of participation, your county raised over $93,000, and that's an exact amount. 23 schools. This, what else can you say other than it's simply amazing that this is what's going to go towards heart disease and stroke, to help individuals and individuals in this room that I just met, to help fight and create new ways to help live longer, happier lives. Now, the two schools here, there's the number one school is on the next slide, Chatillon Elementary, Stephanie Schaefer. What an amazing coordinator, and all of them. And then just kind of highlighting these two. Stephanie Schaefer, she always puts the students first and creates an entire almost field day around Jump Rope for Heart, to where the kids are so excited for that day, and implanting that image of I'm excited for that day of physical activity, and creating a lasting message. Thunderbolt Elementary, Miss Gray, her own child is a student there, and again, figuring out innovative ways to try and get the kids really excited year to year, and it's a lot of fun. Wish I could give you more description, but again, trying to keep it brief. And so the top raising school in Clay County, again, what else can I say? Rose Woolwine, I'm going to make you blush, is probably the most selfless coordinator person I've worked with in the schools. Again, I say selfless, not selfish. She deflects all of everything that is organized and done. And the administration at Oakleaf has been amazing. But they'll be the first ones to tell you too that Rose is the person that puts so much into it. And I'm so thankful, Rose and the school, to be able to work with you guys this year. And this is a tremendous impact, $25,253.15. Last year, the school raised a little bit over $20,000, and they were the number 3 school in the state in terms of raising donations. This, I can't tell you where they rank yet because I don't even know, but I'm very, very proud of this effort, and very thankful for the opportunity to work with everyone on this slide. And to Mr. McNider, he had shared with me and told me it would be okay to share. He himself is a heart survivor. And so recognizing that and recognizing it in the school, I think is a tremendous impact to be able to make amongst faculty, amongst the students, of course, and of course from the Heart Association. So at this point, I'd like to present the award for Oakleaf Village Elementary for being the top raising school. And if everyone that's here, could you guys please come up? And I wasn't sure if you guys, if we could do a picture. I don't know if, yep, yes, awesome.
When y'all get done, Miss Payne, would you introduce everybody that's up here getting their picture taken, just so we know them all?
Oh, wow. Praise the Lord. Good job. Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Owens. All right. Next up on the agenda is scheduled citizens' requests. We have none, so at this time we will move into the discussion agenda. This will be last call for yellow cards, speaker cards. Okay. We'll move into the discussion agenda. First item up is D1, Superintendent's Update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to ask Mr. Umbaugh to come forward. We've gotten some of our EOC scores in and give us a little update on Clay County's performance this year.
Good evening. We just got all of the results late last week from our EOCs as well as our FSA testing, and as I'm about to show you here in just a few slides, so many things to celebrate, so many things to be excited about in the direction that we're going. So I'll lead with the headline. This could help Mr. Cravey. Clay beats state average in all but 2 tests. There are 21 of these I'm getting ready to show you, and we had great number. Matter of fact, 9 times you're going to see a top 10 ranking for one of these tests, be it a grade subject, and you've got them listed below there. The highlights: top 10 in civics, U.S. history, algebra 2, geometry. Top 10 for 3rd grade reading and writing. They call it English language arts now. That's an 8th rank. Top 10 for 6th grade ELA, 5th in the state for our 6th grade ELA. Top 10 for 6th grade math, top 10 for 8th grade science, and for 8th grade math. I'll take you through each of those quickly, and what I did was put a little star there on an area if that was one of the top 10 numbers that I just mentioned. So you'll notice here for mathematics, when I mentioned to you that it was above the state average for all but 2 tests, so here is one of those 2. You see, we tied the state average there for 5th grade math, so I didn't count it, so I could have a true headline for you. You notice 6th grade and 8th grade is where we really knocked it out of the park. You're looking now on all these slides, I kept the color scheme the same, so you're looking for the red bar will be Clay County, and you're going to see in every single one of these tests the red bar much higher in a lot of cases than the blue bar, which is the state. Our EOCs for mathematics, Algebra 1, which has been a focus for us. We have really done a great job of pulling that up. And then you notice Geometry and Algebra 2. I was in a conference just the other day, heard a woman bemoaning how the state average was 40% for Algebra 2. And so I'm very, very proud that that's one of the areas where Clay County is excelling. With science, 8th grade is where we get our star, we get our top 10, and 5th grade, 6% over, and then biology, high school biology, is our one spot where actually we didn't meet the state average. And biology as a whole is something that the state struggles with. Actually, it was a 15% drop this year. And I heard someone talking about it the other day and explained it like this, about how difficult it is to teach biology. When you think about this 5th grade or this 8th grade science test, that's actually a test for a 3-year period, right? An 8th grade test has standards that's 6th, 7th, and 8th. It's about 30-something standards from each, and you end up with about 90 standards, okay? So it's essentially a 3-year test. Biology, same number of standards covered, but now it's just 1 year to cover it. There are 97 standards tested on that biology EOC, yet you only have 1 year to cover it. You think 180 school days, and you start, well, and we don't even wait till the last day to test, and you're back. So by the time you're all said and done, a teacher's trying to hit about a standard a day. So we have a focus, and we've been looking over the course of the past year how we can bolster our biology instruction, and it is very much a focus of ours. And as a matter of fact, we're about 1 year out from implementing a plan where we're going to shift that to actually become a 10th grade course. Right now we have our 9th graders taking it, so in essence we're kind of wrestling out of our weight class. We got our 9th graders going against a lot of other counties' 10th graders, and it is a very difficult test. It's very dense kind of text, and so we figure get our kids 1 more year of literacy, become even better readers, and they're going to have a better shot at that test. So we feel like good things are ahead in biology as well. English Language Arts, you'll notice where we get our top 10 marks in 3rd grade and in 6th grade, but still above the state average in every single test. Social Studies, look at that. Civics and U.S. History in the top 10 in the state. And so finally, again, and you've seen these numbers before, but it's what it's all about, right? Sending better graduates out into the world to benefit here, our local community, as well as our state. And that is, as you've heard us say the number before, a 9.5% jump here over the last few years. And we are finally now, you notice down in the bottom left corner, I give you the percentages, we're finally now for the very first time in our history above the national average as well. But what is that, about a 1.5% now over the national average. So we're very excited about these results, as I'm sure you can understand. I can entertain questions, or I can go sit over there and look not so pretty.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
If biology moves to 10th grade, what science would replace it?
We're looking at environmental science would be the plan. And to
they kinda
slow
tie
this,
together.
yeah, and to slow this train down right now, we had looked at could we actually do this switch sooner, and we just can't. We're slowing the train here, but to get all the resources and the certifications needed and all that, 1 year out, then a 9th grader would take environmental science, 10th grader biology. When Clay County made this change, 2011-ish, the instructional division was reacting to a Senate bill that was saying a child had to pass chemistry or physics, and so that, well, my gosh, now you got to take biology. So they moved biology back so that they would have more time for a kid maybe who struggled to be able to pass one of those harder courses. And then in 2013, the Senate took the teeth out of the bill, and so we are now correcting now that we're allowed to from 2013.
So what would the science curriculum look like for 9th through 12th? Right now, every 9th grader takes biology, whether they're
That's
in
correct.
AP, IB, or whatever.
That's correct.
And so then it would be the same for environmental
You'd have
science.
environmental science, right, and you'd have biology. Now we would have, we're going to be hashing out the plan over the course of the next year. To your question, there are a lot of those kind of in the weeds issues where we've got to sit down with all the science teachers and administrators and guidance counselors and make sure we get a plan everyone's comfortable with.
Okay. And right now, where does chemistry and physics, where do those
So
fall?
those are showing up just later on down the line,
11
right? I
through
mean,
12,
yeah.
okay.
hmm Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next item up under Deputy Superintendent is item C3, which was pulled from the consent agenda. But before we bring that to the floor, we do have one card on that. Ms. Renalee Paiva.
Good evening, Renlee Paiva, President of CCEA, representing the CCEA. We actually have spent, and I appreciate Ms. Cornegay and I have numerous conversations about this, and I think in behalf of the teachers, we were just caught off guard. I have always been a strong advocate for an early release for professional development and PLCs, and teachers have no time. They have no time anymore because the incredible amount of testing, the incredible amount of mandates. I mean, I kind of have to laugh, Mr. Umbaugh, because when this all happened and biology was moved to grade 9, all teachers screamed about that. All guidance counselors was like, they're just not ready, leave it in 10, leave it alone, but the politicians were. So I'm quite happy to hear, as a guidance counselor, to see it move back in grade 10. And today's meetings and talking about and looking at our AP scores in physics and everything, I think everything is like a big domino effect. But having said this, the school hours, my only concern, I don't really have a concern except to say that we didn't know about the change, so it caused a little bit of hysteria that I don't think we should have had. There should have been we could have had some dialogue, and somewhere it got stopped, and the teachers weren't aware of it. So when the teachers saw it only in the school board agenda, they were very reactionary on it. Then Ms. Cornegay and I had a long discussion on Tuesday night about it, and I went back to the teachers and I said to give it a go with a look that we're going to have some sort of autonomy in that time. What teachers fear more than anything in the world is that you make time for them to be dictated on what they need, instead of making time so they can be the professionals and decide what they need, because they know what they need. They reflect with each other, they go with their groups, they get in their PLCs, and they see where the kids' scores are, and they see where they are, and they don't need to know. Now, Duval and St. John's been doing this for 10 to 15 years, an early release of an hour. I would like us to start talking about that, having some honest talking, so parents, we're really good at explaining to teachers why they need professional development, but we're absolutely terrified to try to explain to parents why the teachers need professional development. And we kind of need to have a look at that. My only other concern was at the elementary level, and the same thing there, because I still have a little bit of concern there, because I don't know what that does to people's second jobs. I don't know what that does to child care. So there has to be some dialogue in the beginning of the school year on what that is. And I'm also concerned about dismissal times when you only have 8 minutes to dismiss. I don't know how you're going to get through the cars, especially at the elementary level when the people are putting the kids in the car. So that is concern. I don't want that to absolutely look like you got 8 minutes, so what we're doing is forcing our teachers to really spend 10, 15, 20 minutes, because that's how long it takes to clear those parking lots. I appreciate it, and I appreciate Ms. Cornegay and talking about this and walking us through it, and I've asked the teachers to give it a go, see what the 20 minutes does, see what it looks like in practice, and I think we need to open up the dialogue at the calendar committee and everything else on looking at an early release so we can have the time like everybody else around us has the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Paiva. Okay. So we've got item C3. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval on it.
We have a motion for approval by Ms. Karakis.
I'll second.
And a second by Ms. Condon. Any more discussion?
Well, I'll just explain why I pulled it.
Sure.
And I talked to Ms. Cornegay, and she explained to me that her and Ms. Paiva had discussed it, and they were all on the same page. And then I think we all got the couple of emails from Ms. Brown, and then I got a couple of phone calls, and then I got stopped in the supermarket, and so I thought, okay, that's 4 right there, so maybe this is something the board should just discuss. And the thing that was brought to my attention by the 4 different teachers was the drop-off in the morning and the pickup in the afternoon, that tight little window of time that they're concerned about. So I know they're going to all make it work, and what will happen is our wonderful teachers will be doing it on their own time. That's probably what'll happen. But if everybody's in agreement with it, then let's see how it goes. So
Well,
I didn't know if
I
we
would-
wanted to discuss it or not.
I would actually offer up that we look at it and evaluate it and see how it's working. And if it does turn out that they're having to stay extra on their own time, then we need to revisit it.
I will
You might
say
want to
that
look at the
Address
hour
the
that St.
the hour, yeah.
Duval does.
Yeah.
I will
see
say
how
that I
works
did
for
ask
them.
the question as well about that because I was concerned about that. And my understanding is those principals have a plan that doesn't involve those teachers staying longer. So I'm not going to jump to the conclusion that the teachers will be having to put in the extra time. I do have confidence in our principals and in our administrative staff that they have ways that they can cover duty that don't involve the teachers that need to be in these professional development meetings. And so I think that they should make it work. And
Well, they should communicate that with our teachers because the phone calls and the messages that I've gotten, were from teachers who are doing it the way they've always done it. And they're out there doing the pickup and the drop-off, and they're concerned about that. So just a little more communication would probably be a
But this is for the new
great
school
thing.
year. So when the teachers go back in August, I would imagine that's when the new plan would be presented to the teachers. That
Yes, I'm sure it will be. Anyway, that is why I pulled it, just so that we could have a discussion on it, because I did have several calls, and we all had those couple emails, so.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if I may. I'm sorry,
Oh,
over
yeah.
here.
Okay.
We do have one of our elementary principals here who would like the opportunity to talk about the decision that was made at her school, because it was one of the schools that came into question in regards to the short amount of time for dismissal.
Okay.
And she really wanted a chance to be able to share kind of their take on it and what their plan is to alleviate any concerns that you might have.
Great.
Hi, I don't know. Oh, wow. I've never sat up here and spoke.
That's a good
Back
thing.
up a little bit. I know, right? If you don't know me, my name's Heather Tito. I am the proud principal of Wilkinson Elementary School, and if you have never had the opportunity to be out there, please come. I have the most phenomenal community of children, families, instructional teachers, and support staff, and it truly blesses my heart. I just wrapped up my first year, and great things are happening out there, so I suggest anytime you want to come out, you come out. Let me just tell you a little bit about the problem solving and the process that went behind my decision as far as changing those hours. So Wilkinson has a rich history of professional development that was established over a decade ago, and as a new principal, I reflect a lot. I want to be better. I need to be better for my people. I need to be better for my students. And I need to be better just for the community in general. And Middleburg is my community. That's where I live. And it's very important to me to make sure that I do what's best for them every single day. So when February rolls around, interestingly enough, that's when we plan for the following year. I'm learning that as we go through. And I started thinking, what do I need to do better? What do I need to do better? And I thought this year, professional development, which I pride myself in, I feel like that's something that I really enjoy doing and I have a passion for, I didn't do the right job this year. And so I started thinking about, I need to change the day of the week because it was Tuesdays. And Tuesdays traditionally are curriculum council and principals meetings, so I was worried that I was missing a lot of time with my teachers, serving them, giving them the opportunity to have me there, see me face to face, ask me questions, ask for resources. So I wanted to change the day, and I wanted to make the time convenient for all my parties involved. I believe that my teachers are leaders, and I want to give them every opportunity to be the best that they can be, and I want to be there for them. So March rolls around, I survey, I put a little survey monkey, and I ask the teachers, okay, you have a choice. Do you want to work 7:30 to 3 with professional development in the morning, or would you prefer to have an 8 to 3:30 schedule with professional development in the afternoon? Interestingly enough, when I got the results, it was closer than I thought. I had 60% of my teachers who wanted to keep it the same, with professional development running in the morning and then ending the day at 3 o'clock. Then I had 40% who were like, let's push it back further. And then interestingly enough, people, they walk by and they go, do you have a minute? And we'd come in my office, or we'd have sidebar conversations, or I get texts or phone calls. And I just asked them, they would tell me, well, I've gotten accustomed, I have appointments in the afternoon, everybody's got a travel ball child. I don't know if you know, everybody's child's in travel ball or dance, and so they liked that schedule. Or I had younger people that had small children, and it was really a hardship for them to kind of adjust that schedule and get there early. So in my judgment, and I promise you I do my best every day solving problems as I can, and sometimes I have them out of the park, and other times a little bit of a misstep. So with that being said, I made the decision, put it out there, and I said, okay, 7:30 to 3 is what the majority rules. And then life happened, scheduling, testing. And so I hadn't made the determination on the time or the day. So my misstep was that I did not convey that. And for that, I truly am sorry. But I will tell you that I have an immense support staff at my school. I'm working at scheduling right now. I will not ask my teachers to do more than what they're supposed to do. I try my best to make it easier for them every single day. So with that being said, I'm going to provide supports in place that instructional staff is not going to be the ones who are in charge of duty in the afternoon. And I'm going to make sure that at 2:42, when the buses have to be released because they have a schedule at 2:43, 2:44, they have stops. While it may take a couple weeks, we're going to have to get on that routine, or I'm going to have the director or supervisor of transportation down my throat, so I got to take care of her. So with that being said, I am also humble enough that, and I have enough humility, that if for some reason it's not working, I am more than happy to revisit it and fix it. And I promise you, as I stand here today, that if it becomes an issue, I will fix it and handle it. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm
All
really
right.
glad to hear that. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I love my people, and I think,
No, and you have a wonderful school, and we've been out there for your art gala.
yep, absolutely. So I welcome you. We're doing great things next year. We got a lot going on, so I welcome you anytime. You want to come stop by, visit a classroom, have lunch, bring me a coffee, we'll be good.
I like the coffee part.
It's way out there. We don't have much out there. So, all right, well, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd also like to call to the podium Ms. Outman. She also would like to address this issue. Ms. Outman.
Good evening. How are you? First, let me remind you that I am the proud principal of the best school, period. And we are a model school for the district, which we take very, very seriously. 2 years ago, we came together as a faculty with 85% approval to extend our learning by becoming collaborative classroom model school. My teachers are some of the hardest working, reflective, dedicated people in our district. And as principal, I honor that every day by creating a culture and climate that is open and accommodating not only to them professionally, but also to them personally. I genuinely love my people. For the past 2 years, we have met together for an hour starting at 7:15 in the morning for professional development and PLCs. To ensure the safety of our scholars, on Tuesday mornings, we utilize our support staff for coverage. Dismissal at SPJ becomes a well-oiled machine. We have about 500 scholars and about that many dismissal points. However, we only have one bus. We have 2 parent pickup lines. And I will say that when Front Circle Drive, which is where I am, clears before back drive, we do a victory lap around the school. It's very exciting. And then usually at the 10-minute mark, we're walking up remaining scholars to the front office. When the start time changed district-wide, we knew that we needed to tweak our procedure slightly. After the first 2 weeks of school, scholars and teachers alike have become familiar with the discipline routine or dismissal routines. And once all the kinks have worked out, it only takes approximately 10 minutes to dismiss 95% of our scholars. This leaves us with 2 to 7 minutes that we will need additional coverage to completely wrap up dismissal. We've used support staff in the mornings to effectively monitor students and have decided to use them in the afternoon as well. They will come, the support staff will come out at approximately 2:45 to parent pickup and load the remaining scholars into cars and escort any scholars who haven't been picked up to the front office. All other dismissal points are generally wrapped up by 2:50 or in 8 minutes. We have 500 scholars and most of them walk, ride bikes. They are released at 2:42. We do have the daycare vans, and on the occasional days that we have a late daycare van, we have our fantastic support staff who takes over for the teachers. The creation of this plan allows us to ensure scholar safety while continuing to honor our teachers' time. And I always strive to make SPJ the best place to work, learn, and just be. In addition to that, I also want you to know that any day my teachers have a sick child, a doctor's appointment, home inspections, dentist appointment, have to take their dog to the vet, or just need a moment, we always provide coverage for that. Sometimes at 2:15 if they need it. I really make sure that I give my teachers everything that they need to be the leaders in their classroom. So, in closing, I've invited each of you to come to SPJ on several occasions, and please know that you continue to have an open invitation anytime you want to come and see the great things we're doing with our scholars. Do you guys have any other questions?
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to Ms. Cornegay for pulling that together so fast. Good job.
Okay. So I have a motion for approval by Ms. Karakis and a second by Ms. Condon. Any further discussion on this item? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Okay. Certainly.
You know, our students are doing great, and we give a lot of praise to our teachers for that, and there's certainly teachers the backbone of our work here in education. But we flat out have some amazing principals and assistant principals in every one of our schools. And these ladies and gentlemen solve about 58 problems every morning before they get their second cup of coffee, even out on 218 when there is no Starbucks. And I salute y'all. I appreciate the way you rally around and support each other. And if you haven't been, and I'm saying this to I think everybody in this room has probably been in one of our schools lately, but we've got 41 schools out there, 2 more that are charters. You need to go look. We have some really well-oiled education organizations out there, and I appreciate what you guys do, and the few of you that are here tonight. through the summer to stay engaged with how policy and things like that are setting forth so that you're up to date. I just really appreciate you. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Next item up is item D2. This is a public hearing to approve as advertised the amendments to the school board policy 6-10-2.35, which is our anti-fraud policy. So I'm going to open the public hearing for any comments, if anybody would like to come forward and make any comments on this item. Okay. I will close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for a motion.
Move approval.
A motion for approval by Ms. Studdard
Second.
and a second by Ms. Condon. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Okay. Item D3, Human Resource Special Actions. There are none. We move to item D4, which is approving the 2016-17 policies for property, casualty, and liability insurance. I'm going to call on Dr. Legutko. She was going to make a brief statement about that. Dr. Legutko. Oh, well, first let me bring it to the board. I'm sorry. Let me bring it to the board for approval.
I'll move approval. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. No. I'll move approval.
I have a motion for approval by Ms. Karakis
I'll
and a second by Ms. Condon. Dr. Legutko.
Hello? Yes. Thank you very much. Okay, this item represents our annual renewal for our liability, property, and casualty insurance. And what I'd like to do at this point is introduce Mr. Craig Feinstein, who is the Area Vice President for Arthur Gallagher, who is representing our insurance company that provides the policy. Craig?
Thank you, Dr. Legutko. And thank you, Honorable Superintendent and Honorable Board members. Thanks for having me here. Is this thing, I can just... So my name is Craig Feinstein with Arthur J. Gallagher. We're the insurance brokers for the school district. We're also your risk management partners. We do more than just place the coverages. We've got some great news tonight, a terrific renewal. We work closely with Dr. Legutko and her staff to really put together a nice renewal for the district. And we're going to focus on this page. This is page 7 in the book. I know it can get technical, so feel free to stop me if there's any questions. So this year, overall, we were able to negotiate a savings of $160,000 for the district, which represents it's about 13% reduction. We're also able to improve the coverages, add some new coverages, expand coverages. So that's why it's such a great renewal. If you look at this schematic here, this is the property and casualty insurance program. The school district is self-insured for most of your losses. And if you look on the left-hand side, these are the policies that are connected to the school board package. It's a property and liability program. Everything you see in yellow on the left-hand side, those are self-insured retentions. Those are the amounts that the district is responsible for if there's an occurrence. Everything that's blue, that is the package. That's Lloyd's of London. It's the Brit Syndicate. They provide the excess coverage over the retention. And then everything above that, those would be excess layers of coverage. The way we read this, the easiest way is to look at it from left to right and the bottom up. And then on the right-hand side of the page are 3 towers of coverage that are outside of the package. There's going to be on this page three major items that are different from last year. It's all improvements. So and on the first column is the property program. This is actually shown in a little bit more detail on the next page, but just as an overview, this tower represents $51 million of coverage in total for any one occurrence. That's if there's a fire or a tornado. In the event of a flood loss or a named storm, which is a hurricane or a tropical storm, the limit is $16 million. That's actually an increase of $2.5 million from the previous year. So for Clay County School District and really all public entities in Florida, FEMA represents a really meaningful part of any potential recovery in the event of a hurricane. And what you're asked to do, what you've been asked to do in the past, is bring a reasonable program. They don't define reasonable, but they just say it's got to be reasonable. So what the district has been doing in the last couple of years is buying incrementally higher limits of coverage because the market's gotten softer. So we've been able to get more coverage for less money, so that's why we've been increasing it little by little. So a few years ago, actually I say 2 years ago, this was $11 million. This year, starting on June 30th, it's going to be $16 million. And that's the tower, how it's built up. It's a little bit more detail on the next page, and I'll go over who the carriers are. The yellow indicates the retention. For most claims, the district will have to pay the first $100,000, but for the catastrophic losses, which would be hurricanes or floods, there's higher deductibles. In this case, for named storm, it's 10%. One of the neat things about this package program is if you look at all these yellow boxes, these are, each column represents a different line of coverage, whether it's property or liability or workers' comp. But this is a combined lines retention, which means that if there were one event that occurred that triggered more than one coverage, there would only be one retention. It would be the highest one, but there'd only be one. So maybe not a great example, but if the roof were to collapse on me right now, you would trigger the property coverage. You'd trigger liability coverage because if I was hurt, I'm a third party on your premises, and heaven forbid if someone else was injured, an employee, that would trigger workers' comp. So that would be a type of event that could trigger 3 coverages, but only one retention would apply. So with that, the second column is a general liability and auto liability. The district, again, for the first $100,000 is a district's responsibility. Then the next $900,000 is again the Brit Syndicate with Lloyd's of London, and the district has an excess liability layer for out-of-state coverage because you do take trips out of Florida, and outside of Florida you don't have sovereign immunity. Okay. The next column over is the school leader's liability, and that includes employment practices liability. The typical claims that we see there are employment-related claims like discrimination and things like that. But this is the coverage that protects you all and the employees for their decisions or indecisions in running the school district. Again, there's a $100,000 retention, and then Lloyd's provides the next $900,000 of coverage. The next column over is the workers' comp. The district takes on the first $250,000 of risk. And that's, by the way, per occurrence. So if more than one person were to be injured in one event, that's just one retention. And then underwriters at Lloyd's provides what's called a buffer, which is $250,000 in excess of that. And then State National provides the excess coverage to what the state says is required. So workers' compensation, there's no dollar limit. It changes with the statutes every year, and that's what this covers. I want to go back just 1 second, and I should have mentioned this. One of the what you'll see in the first column for property, that peach-looking column that says 2.5 million excess of 13.5 million, that's one of the new enhancements this year. So I mentioned that last year, 2 years ago, your coverage was at 11 million, and then last year was at 13.5. This year, you're purchasing an additional $2.5 million of coverage to bring it to 16 million. Apologize for missing that before. And this next, and if there's any questions, let me know. Going back to the last column in the package, the crime coverage, that coverage is actually rolled into the package about 2 or 3 years ago because there was issues in the private market. But that's what this package is so great, because you can put coverages in it and take them out depending on how things are, what the overall market is doing. It kind of shields you from the, all the gyrations out there. So this year we were able to add a coverage. It's not shown here, but it's in the body of the document. But there's a new coverage, literally hot off the press as it came out last year. It's called social engineering, and some carriers call it fraudulent impersonation. And we've actually seen claims where, if you're familiar with phishing schemes when someone sends an email that says, you know, I'm the superintendent of the schools and I'm asking you to wire transfer $50,000 to some bank and do it quickly and don't ask a lot of questions. That's actually happened, and we've seen those claims. And they are not covered by traditional crime insurance. So this is brand new. This coverage didn't even exist until the end of last year. So we're vigilantly getting this added to all of our clients' policies. We were able to get it added to this policy, to your policy, for no additional cost. So, moving over to the right of the dotted line, these are the policies that are outside the package. The first column on that in that area, that's cyber risk. That's a new coverage that you guys have. That you didn't have that before. We've been talking to you about it. We've been talking to all our clients about it. And in the last few years, there's been a lot of highly publicized events that have occurred. And so lots of folks are now purchasing this coverage. So you will have that coverage this year, starting on June 30th. The limit is $3 million, and we came up with that amount with we have a model that we use that's available to you guys. You can go online and do it also, but this is not a science yet because it's still kind of a relatively new type of coverage, but reliable sources indicate that $3 million would be a good limit for the number of students you have and the amount of personal information that can be released. So we presented the district with different limits, and $3 million was the limit we selected ultimately. There's some sub-limits on there for there are some sub-limits. Most notably, and the reason that most of our clients buy this coverage isn't because they're afraid to get sued, because most of the time you don't get sued. Most of the time what happens is there'll be a breach of data, and you don't know what to do, because, I mean, Florida has its own laws, but really anybody that comes into Florida from another state, there's 48 different sets of state laws that apply to what you need to do, how you need to respond if there's a breach. So a personally identifiable information record consists of a first initial, last name, and either an address or a driver's license number or a social security number. And if that type of information is leaked, then you need to respond. And most of our clients don't know, what to do. So this policy will give you the resources, pre-negotiated, to be able to call a lawyer, find out what the response needs to be, or actually hire a forensic accounting firm to go into the system and see if anything was really breached and if you need to respond. So it's a great benefit. The limit on that is $1 million, and it provides up to 500,000 individual notifications. So it's a pretty healthy limit for the size of the school district. Various deductibles apply. $25,000 is the main deductible. If there has to be notifications, 100 notices, and then there's either a $10,000 or a $5,000 deductible for the initial breach. Some companies call it a breach coach, which is a person you call to get advice. But all this, what you would pay, is pre-negotiated. It's not just calling up on the phone and trying to find somebody, but rather it's all kind of set up and packaged.
Okay.
It's a good program. The next column over is boiler machinery. This is coverage that covers a gap that you find in most property policies. It can be, historically it's been like an industrial risk, something exploding, but in our world, it could be a chiller, it could be ammonia contamination, things that have to do with machinery breaking down. And it's an exclusion on the property that you need to insure separately. This year, Travelers is a new carrier for the district on this policy. You've historically had Zurich, which is a great carrier. Had them on a lot of our clients. They pay claims. They're really good about that. But they decided to pull out of this market this year, at least when they're providing this coverage on a standalone basis. So we've had to replace those policies. Luckily, it's a pretty competitive market. There's other carriers out there that have been willing to take over. In fact, a lot of the underwriters that work for Zurich who found themselves without a job have gone to these other carriers. So they already know they know our client's business, and they're willing to help us help us out in that respect. So we moved the coverage. The premium is actually a little bit lower, and the limit's a little bit higher. So it's a little bit better coverage you're getting with Travelers now. And the last column over is storage tank liability. This is a very specialized form of pollution liability. It's basically what the state requires storage tank owners, which a storage tank is a tank that holds petroleum for like, fuel, diesel, oil. And in order to operate one in the state of Florida of certain size, or if it's underground, you need to have insurance. And this is the basic policy to cover those requirements. So the limit's $1 million to $2 million aggregate, and it's a $10,000 deductible. Are there any questions?
I only have one question. I don't know if it was just a misstatement on the cyber risk.
Yes.
It says a $3 million limit there. Is that correct, or did?
Yeah, it's
okay.
a $3 million overall limit.
Correct.
And if you look, there's on page. We'll actually get to it because it's where the last page is, page 11. It summarizes. There's a $3 million aggregate limit, and if the school district were to be sued, you'd have a $3 million limit. There's a sub-limit for the notifications.
Okay, that's fine. I just to clarify that. Thank you.
So with that, we'll just flip briefly to page 8, which is because there was a change this year. This program got a little bit more sophisticated, so we added an additional chart just to show you how the property program is structured. Again, the new part here is that orange in the middle that says Colony, and I apologize, it's a little blurry. I know I do insurance better than I do PowerPoint, but these are basically the carriers that are providing coverage, and they have different shares depending on their appetite and how much risk they're able to take. So you'll see there's 8 different insurance companies that are providing property coverage for the school district. Are there any questions on that? And then going to page 11, the second to last page in the presentation. Oops, wait, there we go. So that top part is the cyber risk, the summary of the coverage, if anybody's interested in looking at that, or if there's any questions. But the bottom part is the cost summary. If you look, last year the premium was just over $1.2 million, or I say the total cost. This year it's about $1,040,000. It's about $160,000 of savings, which is about 13%. It's really a great renewal, and Dr. Legutko reviewed the options, and we put together what's really a great competitive program.
Outstanding.
Thank you.
That is very outstanding. Anybody have any questions? We're all good? Okay. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you, and we appreciate the opportunity to serve you guys.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Do you want a motion on that?
Yeah, no, I'm going to get him on. Yeah, I'm going to. Yeah, we have a motion on it.
Okay.
We just need if there's any
Just need to
further
vote.
discussion, no further discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. With that, that concludes most of our business. We're going to move into presentations from the audience. We have several cards here. So we will start off with Caro Barkowitz. It's the first card up.
Hello. Mr. Van Zant and school board members, thank you for letting me speak here tonight. My name is Caro Barkowitz. I am a junior here at FIHS, and I am the president of the Gay Straight Alliance we have at this school. Mr. Van Zant, a month ago today, I received a phone call from you that everyone else in our county received as well. This hateful phone call threatened my safety at school as you spread your transphobic and implied homophobic message throughout our county. My message from last month's meeting has not changed. You must rethink this archaic decision. But the situation has changed. On Sunday, as I'm sure we are all aware, a horrific event occurred. An American citizen went into a gay nightclub in Orlando and opened fire, killing about 50 people and injuring even more than that. Everyone can agree that this event was terrible, and many, including you, Mr. Van Zant, took to social media to share your condolences. Superintendent Van Zant, your post read that your, quote, thoughts and prayers go out to the victims of this horrible tragedy in Orlando, end quote. How can you pray for the LGBTQ people that died while you are spreading a message of hate home to our students and our families in this community? When one of your students tweets that he would, quote, shoot up a gay nightclub also, Brandon Carney, June 12, 2016 at 6:21 p.m. on Twitter, do you feel guilty for teaching him that hate? Will it take a shooter to come here and shoot your gay and trans students, people who deserve your protection as much as any other student, to get you to change your mind? Mr. Van Zandt, I do not want to be here at every school board meeting this upcoming year. I will be taking 6 college-level classes and, quite frankly, will need the time to complete homework, write essays, and work on projects. However, if me coming to every meeting is the only thing that will make you change your mind, I will be here to speak and hope that one day you will truly hear me. Thank you.
Thank you. For the record, when you guys come up and speak, please do not name the names of students in our district, okay? I don't think that's appropriate, okay? Next person is Daniel Barkowitz. If you would state your name and address for the record, please.
Daniel Barkowitz, 2606 Countryside Drive. Members of the school committee and Superintendent Van Zandt, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. Faculty, administrators, parents, students, and members of the public, thank you for being here this evening. In the words of Tony Award winner Lin-Manuel Miranda's acceptance speech on Sunday night, and love is love is love is love is love is love, cannot be killed or swept aside. Miranda's right. Love is love. And love is born from acceptance and understanding, from getting to know someone as an individual and not assuming you know something because of a label. If love leads to love, then hatred certainly leads to more hatred. Hatred is born of fear, intolerance, and a lack of understanding. And my friends and neighbors, what we observed in Orlando Sunday morning is evidence of this. Regardless of the killer's motives, and we do not truly know now, nor will we ever know what led him to kill, what we do know is that he chose to attack a safe space for LGBT individuals on a night celebrating Latin and Hispanic culture. This was a racist act. This was an act of homophobia, a learned behavior from a society that teaches even today that being different, being LGBT, is somehow wrong. Can we honestly look at our Clay County schools and say that we aren't teaching the same hatred? Can we honestly say that we are teaching love rather than hate? Shortly after the horrific events in Orlando, a Clay High School football player, a rising senior, tweeted Sunday morning, "I'd shoot up a gay nightclub also. Too soon?" Where did he learn that from? Why did he think that this was an acceptable response? And members of the school board and Superintendent Van Zandt, I think we all deserve to know what you're doing to punish him for that action. Mr. Van Zandt, I do urge you to look at your own behavior on this issue. Your message about transgender individuals, which was sent home via robocall, was itself transphobic. To begin with, you stated your remarks were about transgendered students, a term that's been out of use for more than 7 years. Calling someone transgendered implies that something happened to them to make them trans. It denies their intrinsic journey to coming to terms with their own identity. And by stating that you would not disregard the traditional family values shared by so many in our community, you intimated that being trans is somehow anti-family, is something lesser, is somehow wrong or abnormal. By labeling and defining others as lesser, you're actively contributing to the hatred of others, a position that in light of Sunday's events and one of your own students' responses is reprehensible. It's clear that action must be taken by this school board, by you, Mr. Van Zandt, as superintendent, or if all else fails, by all of us as an electorate, to show that love is love is love is love. We don't need a moment of silence. We don't need your thoughts and prayers for the victims of Sunday Massacre. What we need is a lifetime of action to ensure that something like this never happens again.
Thank you, Mr. Barkowitz. Next up is Rachel Barkowitz.
Hi there. My name is Rachel Barkowitz, and I also live at 2606 Countryside Drive. Mr. Van Zandt and members of the school board, first, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to share my thoughts at this meeting today. As a member of this community, it is comforting to know that, if I wish to use it, my voice will be heard. Let me introduce myself. My name is Rachel Barkowitz, and I just finished my sophomore year at Sarah Lawrence College, a liberal arts school located a half an hour from New York City. In the beginning of the month of June of 2015, my family moved from Massachusetts, where I've lived my whole life, to Fleming Island, Florida, which is a town in this county. Throughout this last year, this drastic change has had its pros and cons, but one of the hardest pills to swallow was the fact that in times of crisis, there is little I can do to help. Mr. Van Zant, when you use the robocall system to inform the county of your stance on the federally mandated requirement that students should be allowed to use bathrooms consistent with their gender identity, you created a time of crisis. Through telephone wires and technology, you entered the walls of my home and hurt the one person I have been trying to protect since the day they were born. My sibling, who just finished their sophomore year at Fleming Island High School, was the one who picked up the phone when you called. With your words, you took the school where my sibling has thrived since the starting classes in August and turned it into an unsafe environment. Although it is tempting, I do not want to talk about the events in Orlando this past weekend or the words which one Clay County student shared over Twitter that have shocked and angered 100,000 people. Instead, I want to focus on the future. 3 weeks ago, the cast of Broadway's Kinky Boots released a video in support of the federal mandate. They took a song from their show and shifted the words to match the sentiments of this mandate, adapting all of the words except for these few. You change the world when you change your mind. Mr. Van Zant, members of the school board, I implore you to think about these words. Due to your positions in this county, your actions and words directly impact those who attend your schools. You are the adults they look up to, the people they strive to emulate as they grow older and to take on positions of leadership in this country. And, as I'm sure we can all agree, a country founded on peace and love will always trump those which rely on hate and bigotry. You change the world when you change your mind. You change the world when you change your mind. Change your mind so that every student feels empowered to change the world. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Miguel Ojeda? I'm sorry.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Miguel Ojeda. I live at 2300 12 Oaks Drive. Thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. And I just want to come here and say I applaud you guys, members, and Mr. Van Zant for what you've done with the robocall. You know, I've received that call. I thank you for that. You also made the video as well. I appreciate that. And I did just want to say it's noteworthy to say that, you know, everybody that's come to the podium so far has been able is speaking here on the bathroom directive, the mandate, whatever the federal government has brought down. And, you know, I appreciate you all for being leaders and going against the grain with what you're doing. And it's going to be some uncharted water that y'all are going into. And, you know, I pray for the tough decisions you all have to make going forward. I was able to pull up the directive and read it for myself, and I just basically call it an ultimatum, because it's basically you must do this or else. And the else is basically the federal government will not be funding some of the things they've been funding before. So I hope as leaders that y'all will be having a contingency plan to deal with this as it comes you know, available there. And I did go speak at the Duval County School Board meeting on Monday. It's in my heart to be there and to be the voice that's a little bit different, you know. And I just learned something, you know. It's from me being not as smart as maybe a lot of folks are, but you know, I didn't know what is it, you know. There's a difference between transgender and intersex. I'm not sure how it all goes down there, but you know, intersex is a person that is born without their, you know, an ambiguous genitalia. They aren't identified male or female, and that is real, and that is something. I didn't know the difference between transgender and intersex, and I asked some of my peers, and nobody really even heard of intersex, but it is something that is real. And you know, one of my friends said that the difference is that they didn't know what intersex was, but they said transgender is about living in the wrong body. Your thoughts don't match your gender you're born. And that's difficult. You know, that's difficult, but it's real. And another thing I learned at the school board meeting from somebody else, that, you know, intersex people are born at a ratio of commonness to like a redhead. You know, 1 in 150,000 are born with this condition, and that is a real thing to address. But it is a minority thing. But you know, I just applaud you guys. I'll leave it with that, and I thank you. And I will, you know, be here to kind of voice my opinion, but I support you. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Julie Robson. Mhm.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Julie Robson. My address is on file. I'm here today as a parent. I would like to know, when will more cameras be installed on these buses? I'm asking this from a personal experience involving my 2 small children, 4 and 5 years old. They are with disabilities. They were on a Clay County ESE bus. On October 16th, 2015, my children and others were held hostage by the driver for still unknown reasons for 15 minutes. My mother and a daycare staff worker, both eligible to get these students off the bus, they're eligible to receive the children off the bus, they were denied access to the children. My mother had to call transportation. Dispatch had to get on the radio and tell this driver 3 times to release these students. Now, this driver has been a Clay County driver since November 3rd, 2000. She knows the correct procedures for picking up and dropping off. I have not received a reason of why this happened. I have asked many times. I have not had an apology from anyone. I have spoke to Mr. Warnberg, to Miss Rosalie Deese, to the school. I've had conversations with Mr. Broski, Mr. Merrill. I've even had a conversation with you, Mr. Van Zandt, in person, with my mother and my husband. I have spoke by phone, email, in person. I was denied an opportunity to have a parent-driver meeting. I was denied a new driver, a different bus, a camera on the bus. The last words from you, Mr. Van Zandt, at our meeting on January 7th of this year was, "I'm sorry that I have to cut this meeting short. I have to attend another meeting. I will be in contact with you. This isn't over." I also have called your office about other things in regards to this situation. I have not received a phone call back. I truly believe this was all done in retaliation because I started asking questions about pickup times, and I started to complain. I have other issues about this, and I regret 100% I have not came forward a lot sooner to stand up for this. But I trusted and I had faith in transportation and the school board that this would be handled. If cameras were on these buses, it would be a voice for the students, especially these young children that don't have a voice. Cameras need to be on the buses for the children that has no voice, for the drivers that are on these buses, and also it would help the bus itself instead of these GPS systems. A camera is not going to lie. When are you going to give the students and the drivers their voice?
Thank you. Ms. Robson. Okay. Mary Blazek.
Good evening. My name is Mary Blazek, and I live at 3064 Paddle Creek Drive. I'm the nurse, the RN at Lake Asbury Elementary School. I've been an RN since 1981. When I first came to the school district, I was told I could bring 5 years of nursing experience for pay purposes. Nurses now are able to bring 10 years of experience. My request is that nurses who have been loyal employees for the school district for years be able to bring that same 10 years experience so that they are at least up to par with the new nurses coming in. And I wanted to see if that can be considered. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Keith Nichols.
Thank you. My name is Keith Nichols, and my address is on record. At last month's school board meeting, in his presentation supporting the GPS system, Mr. Merrill gave me credit for, and I quote, demonstrating that transportation is not a stagnant organization, that as times change, it changes, and it becomes more efficient, end quote. Mr. Merrill was commenting on my citizens' request presentation earlier in the meeting. In that presentation, I covered a topic I had previously presented on in 2013, when I suggested that larger buses, as used in St. Johns County, could help us reduce our labor cost. Back in 2013, this idea was rebuffed by our Director of Transportation, who stated that the flexibility afforded us by the 65-passenger buses is more important than the increased capacity. That is why last month I felt it important and poignant that we purchased 71 passenger buses last year and have been sizing our parking spaces for 77 passenger buses this year. The point Mr. Merrill missed is that if it consistently takes you 3 years from the time I make a suggestion till you actually implement it, we won't see Mr. Van Zant's community garden project come online in time to help the families that are growing hungry now. You got your GPS. For the 3 of you that voted for it, I hope you're prepared to explain to the people that call you that the real-time updates and the panic button will not work anytime the bus is outside the Verizon cellular service area. So the same Keystone area where we have problems with the radio, we will also have the same problems with GPS. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Ms. Renalee Paiva. You're good? Okay. And then last but certainly not least, Ms. Susan Callahan.
Sorry, that's not bigger. My name is Susan Callahan. I am a registered nurse, and I live in Green Cove. You need my address?
Yes, please.
3620 Shinnecock Lane, Green Cove. All of my children grew up in Clay County school system. My grandchildren now are growing up in the Clay County school system, and we have something we would like to discuss with you. You want to explain who you are?
Yes, I'll just introduce myself shortly. I'm Heather Lawrence. I live at 1991 Flora Court in Middleburg. Some of you might know my husband, Ernie Lawrence. He teaches physics and chemistry at Clay High. And I am a former first grade and reading resource teacher from Granger, Texas. And I'll let Susan explain to you what we're here for, and I have some handouts for you.
There is a documentary that is playing right now in Jacksonville, and it is a really important documentary that we would like you all to go see. We actually will pay for your ticket. It is very important because something's going on right now. SB 277 in California was just passed, and it goes in effect July 1st. And what it's doing, it's taking away all personal and religious exemptions for vaccinations for the kids in the whole state of California. There is a lady down here, she's a Congresswoman, Frederica Wilson from Florida, who is trying to pass this going nationwide. They want to take away all of the personal and religious exemptions for vaccination. The documentary that has come out is there is a CDC whistleblower that has come forward, Dr. Thompson, And what has happened is he actually was on a study that showed that there was no link between the MMR vaccine and autism. It was published, everything's great, good to go. Well, come to find out, this happened in 2004. Last year, he came forward and he said that they actually had to hide the data for this information to come forward. And, oh, my sidekick left me. Anyway, what happened was he now is saying, no, this data was wrong. We cannot go forward with this. And he actually has asked, we have a Jason Chavez. He is on the committee of the oversights, and he is actually overlooking this information. We're trying to get them to bring it to Congress. Oops. And so what we want you to guys do is not make any decisions until you get all the information, because right now, look what's happening with the autism rate. And every year they keep adding more and more and more to the schedule. And if the CDC is corrupt as they tell us they are, we make policy from the CDC. And look what's going to happen to our tax dollars by the time we get to 2032. This scientist from MIT is saying that we will be 1 out of every 2 people, 80% boys, half the children. So we are willing to pay for y'all's tickets. We have means of getting tickets that's only going to be here for 1 more week.
Where is it showing at?
We actually gave you guys a packet, and it's on the front of it. It's at the Regal on Beach Boulevard. And we will stick around and wait till after the meeting, and you guys tell us who you want, and we'll get you tickets.
If you could flip that flip chart around so that the audience can see what you had presented to us. It's basically a chart on autism by the numbers. I think it's pretty interesting statistic.
And there's 270 new vaccines in the pipeline. Yeah. And what the CDC tells us, we have to do.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate this information. Anybody have any questions? Okay. Okay. School board requests. Ms. Studdard, would you like to go first? You don't have anything, okay? Ms. Condon?
I just wanted to say that I had the pleasure of attending Ridgeview High School's graduation, and the one highlight, not highlight of the night, because of course that was our students, but Congressman Ted Yoho had called Mrs. Segreto and asked if he could attend Ridgeview's graduation. He had attended their ROTC ceremony as well, and so he chose of all the graduations he could attend to come to a Clay County graduation, so I thought that was really neat. He had a great message for our students. And I guess the only other thing that I would say is that I do happen to live in Keystone Heights, and I have Verizon as my cell phone provider, and I don't have any issues.
Thank you. Ms. Karakis.
I'm ready. Congressman Yoho was here at Fleming Island last year. He enjoyed seeing all our kids. It was a hot night, and we escaped the rain. But this year, I had the pleasure of going down to Keystone, to your area, and it was wonderful. It was very well organized. There was not, every student that came up had a beautiful smile on their face. They could not have been happier to be there. And there's something I wanted to mention about, I can't remember the exact number, and I even called every high school to find out because I talked to Ms. Cornigan. I left my notes at home with me. But I was so impressed with the number of dual enrollment students that received their associate's degree. So not only are they graduating with a high school diploma, but I think Keystone had, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Van Zandt, you probably know, 27 students.
Wow.
And so I called all the other schools in our district, and we have about a total of 40 students district-wide that received an associate's degree from either Santa Fe State College or St. John's River State College. And not to, not spotlight all our IB students and our ACE students and the students taking AP classes. I just kind of want to say, how smart it is for these students and their parents to encourage them to enroll in either the dual enrollment or the IB or the ACE or AP classes. I know my own students, my kids took all the AP classes, and it saved us quite a bit of money because they passed all the exams, and, it took a couple of years off of each of their, their college life experience. And I know we're going to be opening up a program at, I believe, is it Ms. Cornegay, is it Orange Park High School? The dual enrollment program, which, I just want to encourage as many students out there and parents to have your students look into that. So it just kudos to Santa Fe State College and St. John's River State College for working with us, and to our staff for facilitating all of that, because it's a great thing for these kids. And graduation was wonderful. I couldn't let the night pass if I didn't recognize Bannerman Learning Center's graduation. It was wonderful. It's a moving graduation. We've all been there, at one time or another. And these students, they work so hard. And I think the part that I really like is the rose, when they spotlight a person that really helped them get through and made a change for them. And so there's usually not a dry eye in the room. And we got to attend Clay Virtual Academy's graduation, and then that was really nice. And one of those students had an associate's degree, a dual enrollment program, and sixth grade graduation at Grove Park Elementary. It was wonderful. Mrs. Studdard was there with me. So that's my graduation and dual enrollment thing. I do have a question. In going through the Clay today, I saw that the county commission is putting the 1 cent sales tax on, or a half cent for the, actually they're just continuing for
They're just renewing.
Is it a 1 cent? It is a 1 cent. They're renewing it for 20 years, and which is great. And I hope that everybody votes for it and takes care of it. But that's, and reading this, the chairperson asked, Chairman Hutchins asked where the representative from the school district was to address it, and we didn't have anybody there. And I know years ago it was Mr. Hans who attended all of the county commission meetings and was abreast of everything. And I'm sure it was an oversight on our part, but I'm wondering who is assigned to that.
It's a great question. I don't have it right in front of me. You got
I'm
it?
assigned,
Okay.
but I didn't know I was supposed to go to every commission.
But I'm sure there's a staff member, aside from you as the board member to,
No, I mean,
abreast of- but is there a staff member
I heard
assigned to
that
it?
she made that statement, and literally I talked to the chairman that morning, and we talked about lots of things. I didn't know there was an expectation, but I'll get with her and Ms. Kopalousas, the county manager, and
Yeah, I
we'll
was
coordinate
surprised
when
when
we
I
need,
read that.
when they need our support.
Because there was a notation that the Orange Park town manager and the City of Green Cove's town managers were there, and she specifically asked, was there somebody here from the school district to speak on this? And there wasn't. So I was just wondering, do we have a staff member that is assigned to that position? No, okay. Well, it might be something that we might want to look into just to stay abreast of things. And I'm not sure how often they have issues that come before them that affect the school district. Okay, and
I do know in that same vein that they do, they do talk with Mr. Merrill, because I know that I got an email from him yesterday, I believe, that there's an upcoming discussion about a school and zoning and that kind of thing on their agenda. So it seems that at least someone from the county or county offices or something does communicate with us. So maybe it was just an oversight that they wanted someone.
And you're the board member, that's the liaison, so do you attend any of them? Any of their meetings?
Yes, but I just don't go to all of them.
Yeah,
And some of them conflict with our meetings.
Right,
So.
right. Well, thank you for doing that. And I guess, the last thing was that I wanted to, kudos to our Citizen of the Year, but already did that.
Oh, boy.
So thank you, and I wish everybody a safe summer.
Hey, please let me butt in and say, they're all talking about where they went to graduation. I went to Middleburg. It was great. Perfect. I went to virtual school. I went to Bannerman. It was all good. But I'm in the summer mode now. I'm ready, I'm not thinking about graduations. And I thought, well, heck, Middleburg's going to be slighted here. I was at Middleburg. It was wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Well, I had the privilege of attending graduation at Clay High, and it was an extra special night for me because that's my alma mater. And it was really neat because when I was there, it was Coach Dix, but now he's Mr. Dix, and it was his first graduation ceremony. And we were just reminiscing a little bit. It had been 13 years since I graduated from there, and this is his 13th year as a administrator, so it was the night of 13s. But it was a great joy, and it's always so inspiring to look over that sea of blue or black or whatever color they're in and just see all the potential on their faces and bright futures to look forward to thanks to the wonderful quality of education we offer here in Clay County. The other thing that just really impressed me over the last month, one of the opportunities I had to participate was the community engagement meeting that we had at Clay High School. And I just wanted to give kudos to Ms. Halter and to Ms. Lawson for such a fantastic job on that event. We had a great turnout from a lot of community partners, and it's exciting to see just how much this community loves our children, wants to engage with them, wants to pour into them. We are so fortunate to live in the county that we do. So I just wanted to say kudos to you guys. I think that was a phenomenal event, and I look forward to the next one.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Ms. Stutter.
May I butt in again?
Yes, you may.
I'm thinking now that y'all are talking, I did want to say that Ms. Condon, Ms. Karakas, and I all attended the Florida School Board Association conference last week in Tampa. I didn't bring my legislative book. I brought an extra copy so that y'all could see. They went over a lot of the different legislation that's coming up, but I'll try to get a book down so y'all can look at it.
Okay.
One more thing while I have the opportunity. I know some of the buzz going around the community, I've been approached by several people wanting to know how the district's going to handle the bill that passed that kind of opens our boundaries to surrounding counties. And I'm sure you guys have something that you're working on, but I just wondered, is that something that we're going to address over the summer?
Well, you know, it takes effect a little over a year from now. So we'll come up with a communication plan, and really, you know, it's kind of like kindergarten registration. They can still register their kids first day of school, second day of school, third week school's in. So that choice is now out there to everybody in Florida. So we're going to communicate and ask people to give us their thoughts if they're coming, but over the next several months, and as we get into the legislative committee weeks in the fall, I'm sure there will be an implementation bill. That's a pretty sweeping piece of statute that was put in. And like our legislators do a lot of times, there's a whole lot of broad strokes, not a whole lot of details yet. So I'm sure in March and April, your association and mine will be asking for some clarification. And I've talked to some other superintendents in the area, and we're going to try to get on the same page and ask for the things that work with commonality. I mean, they would all come to Clay County if we weren't right across the river from St. John's, but nobody's going to be trying to leave us to go to Duval, Putnam, Bradford, Baker. They're going to be trying to come here to St. John's. And the part of Duval that is closest to Clay is the west side of Jacksonville and Oakleaf, where we're at capacity. So we're going to have to bring you guys some language to define that. So it'll be exciting, and we're already talking about it, but there will be many more pieces of discussion.
Okay, good. Anything else, Ms. Gilhousen?
Can I add something to that?
Yes.
Ms. Studdard said that we were out at FSBA, and Mr. Umbar was there with us too. They did cover that, and there is, and I'm sure FADS will cover it too, if they haven't already. There's a lot of area for us to prepare for projections and things of that nature. So I think once you formulate a plan, and like you said, all the superintendents get together and everybody have the same message, hopefully things will work out where, you know, it's not as much of an impact as we would expect.
I mean, I think you could look at it either way. Either you could look at it as a positive or you could look at it as a negative. I think it's just how we approach it and how we work to make it work for the positive for us. So, okay.
Dollars do follow the students.
Right, the dollars do follow the students. So that's the positive side of it. I just have a couple things. Also, when we're speaking about graduation, I attended Oakleaf's graduation. I was amazed. Oakleaf's graduation, they had like 500 plus students. Is that the... Yeah, it was huge. It blew me away. But kudos to the staff there because it was handled so well. I mean, it was like a well-oiled machine. It was so efficient. And we also had one person who got their associate's degree, and it was wonderful, awesome. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. That was my first time at Oakleaf. I'd done 2 at Ridgeview and 1 out at Keystone. So Oakleaf was as much of a pleasure as all of them are. One thing that I do want to make mention of, we can, if you guys want to just take a look at this date, There's going to be some upcoming training for the new updated version of e-agenda. It's the new electronic agenda that's coming out. And it's been proposed that for July 21st, that we have from 1 o'clock to 3 p.m., we do a workshop agenda. We workshop the Agenda Plus board member training. That's what it's called. Is that correct, Ms.? Yeah, so it's called Agenda Plus. And I recognize right now that we've got a special meeting scheduled that day for the budget, and we also have our regular meeting that night. Now, I know there could be some concern with that being a full day, but the folks that are giving that training, they sort of recommended that we do it on the same day as our board meeting because it'll give us an opportunity to sort of go through the training and then actually use it because it'll be live that day. So I'm already seeing some head shaking no as that's not going to work.
I'm barely going to make our 3:30 budget meeting.
Can you turn your mic on? I'm sorry.
I said I'm barely going to make our 3:30 budget meeting.
Okay.
I have something that day I absolutely cannot.
Okay.
Cancel.
I have something that morning that I can't get out of.
Okay. So, but we're all still good for the 3:30 to 5:30 budget meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I think we already got that on our calendar. Okay, Ms. Bush. So we can't do that day for that training? If we can't do that day for that training,
We do it the day before, maybe?
yeah, is there another option? Yeah.
I'm not available Tuesday. Wednesday, I'm good.
Wednesday in the evening, perhaps? What about everybody else? What date is that? Wednesday?
Be the 20th.
Wednesday the 20th, okay. I can do Wednesday the 20th. Everybody else available?
What time?
Can we do, are they good with yeah, let her check with the company and then I'll have her send an email.
And this is for the e-agenda?
Yeah, this is for the new Agenda Plus, yeah. So Wednesday the 20th, the time will be TBD. She'll get with the company, and she'll send an email out. And if we could just all respond back to her and let her know whether we can make that time.
Here?
Yeah, will it be here? I'm guessing it will be here because it'll be live on the machines, yeah.
Ms. McKinnon,
Yeah, okay.
if we could do it as early as 5, could you?
Yeah,
make it 5
I could do
o'clock?
5, yep. Okay. So that'll be a workshop. Okay. And I just have one last thing. I didn't realize this, but you guys probably all noticed that Mr. Broski's seat is empty tonight, and I just found out that he was he's having a medical procedure, and so I just want to send a shout out to him and well wishes to him and prayers.
Another
I
one?
believe so tonight. Yes, is it tonight or tomorrow?
He had one Monday.
I spoke with him today, and
I
he's
did
having
too.
he's having some more tests done tonight. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
'Cause I talked to
just
him this morning.
Yeah. Okay. So just keep him in your thoughts and prayers and well wishes for a quick, speedy recovery. Okay. And with that, attorney requests. We're good. Superintendent requests.
A lot was said last month. A lot was said tonight. I need to just read a little bit to the audience, and then I'll share some further thoughts with you. And I'm reading from the Declaration of Independence of our great nation. It says, when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume along with the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinion of mankind require that they should declare the cause which compels them to the separation. And that's what our founders, 56 guys who signed that founding document, had to write. And that was the onset of founding this country. It was a country founded on, as it ends, a firm reliance on the protection of divine protection, and that they mutually pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. Peace and love, all that came in the 60s, I guess, but it wasn't what the founders were thinking about. They were tired of being told by the Church of England how they would worship, how they would be governed, and that their religious persuasions would be defined by the king and the queen. They were tired of that. That's how our nation was founded. Our nation's laws were further translated into the Constitution of the United States, which gave the President of the United States several very enumerated powers. But it did not give our President any power of local control of anything to do with any local school district in any state or any county, much less Clay County, Florida. So I just want to clear that up. You've stated your case firmly. I've met with your son and you, sir, in this school and my office. I've been very gracious, and I will continue to be gracious, and we will continue to protect every child, no matter what their persuasion. That's all written in school board policy, and I won't try to quote that off the top of my head, but just about everything you could think of is protected in school board policy and Florida law, and we will continue to protect the dignity of every student. What we will not do is bow to any unlawful directive from the president or anybody else who doesn't have the power to make a law, and we will follow all school board policies, and we will follow the code of conduct, which further protects every student, and sir, your student is protected, even to the point where your student has the First Amendment rights to come up here and disagree with me. But that in no way diminishes my rights as a constitutional officer, duly elected in Clay County, to communicate with parents, teachers, and everybody else that lives and works and educates here in Clay County, just really reaffirming how we will move forward with this issue and so many others. So it is not my job, sir. It is yours as your family to raise your children with whatever values you choose. I have pledged to this community multiple times and taken the oath to the Constitution of the United States multiple times to protect and defend it in its current state. And if it's amended, I guess we'll address that then. Thank you so much.
With that, this meeting is adjourned.